Hey, welcome back to Five Lakes Garage and to a episode that is out of necessity because I like ride my mountain bike down on the trails. Well, I kind of ran into a problem with the front neck here, the headset. Now, started turning a little bit and it started grinding and stuff like that. And then when I took it apart, this is what I found. All right. So the top bearing case, it's not bad, not bad. Actually, I might pull this off. Anyway, this is the bottom. I'm missing bearing. Oh, there goes another one. It was twisted. It was I don't know how it was working, but it destroyed the race. It destroyed the cup. It was bad, real bad. I kind of blame myself for not keeping a track on it. Maintenance, lack of thereof, I'm thinking. I'd spent a lot of time on the maintenance of the wheels, keeping them true. I keep a lot of maintenance on the chain and the sprockets and the gears and stuff like that, but I haven't really spent a lot of time up here on the neck. So what we're going to do today is actually replace it with a different type of gear set. This one is actually all encased. They are going to a non-serviceable bearing. So basically you just replace these. This was roughly 60 bucks, I think. For this one, I had to cross-reference the numbers between the two and actually take it to a bike shop and be like, please match this up, because I couldn't find it. Because I did order these online, which kind of is close, but not quite. Definitely the wrong stuff. Kind of wasted money there, but that one was only 20 bucks, so I wasn't too concerned over it. But what we got to do here is put this thing back together. I want to get this thing back on the road, or on the trails in this matter, and kind of go from there. So this is how we're going to put it together, and I'll try to put the part numbers of these things out there. So this one right here, I haven't really done a full video on this bike itself. This is a Diamondback. It's a Overdrive Pro 29er, so it is 29-inch wheels. Picked this up in 2017, I believe, and it has been great ever since. I did have a small issue with the garage door. I got another project that I'll be welding up here in a minute to try to help with that, so that I will not forget again. But what we're going to do is put this thing back together. So let's put it together. Now the first thing what you want to do is actually get everything as clean as possible. You want all the old grease off. Don't leave anything there that could, cause an issue. Now, while I was at the bike shop today, I went ahead and picked up some better grease. So let's get that out, because you need to grease this before you put it back together. All right, so I picked up some of this Part Tool bearing grease. Now this is specifically for bicycles, and I did pick up, this is a dry lube. Anyway, it's supposed to be good stuff. The guy swore by it, so I'm going to use it. I'm going to put this one on the chain and the sprocket and stuff like that, and then I'm going to put this stuff here on all the bearings up here in my neck. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is actually cut the tip. Okay, so this right here is actually going to be a seal that you're going to put onto the fork first, and so we're just going to put some lube on that just to make sure she is good to go and not going to leak. Yeah, this grease here is the reason why I'm wearing gloves. So you don't need a lot, because most of it's just going to ooze out everywhere anyway. But just kind of glob that up there. Make sure there's not a piece on it that is not covered. Alright, so this right here is going to go onto the shaft. I really need to clean the shop out. I'm hanging out here in the rain. Now when you put your cups in, or your bearings in, which is all sealed up, there's a small taper on one side and a flat on the other. We want to put the rounded side towards the bottom, so that will seal up against the seal. That should fit in there right nicely. All right, so then we'll put our top one on. So the rounded side will actually go to the top. That will fit down in there. All right, so we have our bottom bearing on. Let's push this up. All right, now you have your little keeper, which is this guy here, which this will go on top. This should line everything up. This might work. So just make sure you have everything greased up. I just put this on dry, just wanted to make sure that it fit before I actually put everything in. So now let's grease it up. All right, so I'm gonna grab my grease. I'm just gonna put a dab right here on the on the edge here. Don't want things going in dry. Now don't forget to put grease down here at the bottom. Alright, so I got my spacers. Now, figure out how this thing goes, did I call? There we go. So that goes on like so. I think I'm missing one spacer. Alright, final time of putting this thing together, I hope. Think we got everything straight now. Just make sure that all your cables are not tangled, twisted, or anything. Let's see, brake goes on that side. Stick through. There she goes. Now, hopefully this is the last time. The biggest problem that I had was that this cup and bearing combination actually makes the fork rise a little bit higher into the neck. And what I was having a problem with is that I didn't have enough spacers in order to have the steering wheel and some of that and be able to tighten it down. So I couldn't tighten it. So I just took a flap wheel and just kind of ground that down just a little bit, cleaned up all my shavings, and now it's time to put it all back together. Hopefully for the last time. And make me happy. Helps when you put it on straight. Alright, so now if I get this guy on there in properly, like so, oh, that's gonna work great. Alright, so make sure your lines aren't tangled, everything is lined up. You know what? I'm gonna use the new one. The one that I kind of screwed up on. So I'm gonna use that one only because it looks so much better. So let's use this guy, screw that in. Hopefully it performs as good as it looks. I'm gonna take my Allen wrench. All right, so one thing we wanna test, make sure, is there any play? All right, zero play, moves back and forth really nicely. You don't wanna over tighten this because they are bearings. There she is. Oh, that's so much better. Oh my gosh, now I really wanna go on the trails, but it's still raining. It's gonna be raining for a while. Okay, so make sure your steering wheel is straight, or your steering bars, and then tighten up your neck so that it'll actually steer. Oh, that is so much better. She does not move whatsoever. All right, so while we're here, we're gonna go ahead and service the rest of it. I'm gonna take you along for that one as well. I'll show you a couple quick, easy ways to actually see if your tires are true, because they do need to be trued. We're gonna check our air pressure. We're gonna check our rebound, check our brakes. So, brakes work. And go ahead and lube up the chain because I did get that other lube. So I'm gonna move things around and show you how to do that. All right, so now we have our sprockets, our chain and stuff like that. We wanna make sure that we're good to go on the trail. A couple of safety tips though. Your brake on this side, be very careful. It is very sharp and it's almost like a guillotine. I'm not gonna show it because it's pretty graphic, but I did almost, basically I cut off the tip of my finger because I got caught up in a brake on this thing. And the urgent care down the street did a fantastic job. I actually have a nail. Well, mostly have a nail. It grew back most of the way. It's not all the way, but it is something. They did a fantastic job. So I'm just gonna take some regular old brake clean and I'm gonna put it on my rag and I'm gonna clean my chain. We're gonna clean the sprocket area here and then we're gonna re-lube it. So instead of just spraying here, because then it'll get on the paint, get on the wheels, get all the other stuff, I'm just gonna spray it in my towel. Get it nice and saturated. Now, you're just gonna hold it on the chain. And I like to go backwards with the chain, only because, oh, see, that's how dirty it is. I go backwards on the chain because I don't want the wheels to spin. Yep, that's pretty darn dirty. So the other stuff here will be actually your sprockets and stuff like that. That's also dirty. So I will spray directly on that, but I'm gonna put my towel behind it so it does not make a huge mess. Now, when you're using brake cleaner, it is very harsh. Some of the metals on this bike is very fragile. You just want to get it clean. All right, so that's clean. The sprocket, kind of look in between the teeth. They do sell this like a floss. Basically, it's a string. You just kind of go in between all the gears to make sure that they are good to go and not all nasty, and get all the crud out. But now we're gonna go ahead and lube up that chain. So I'm gonna grab my lube here We're gonna put it right on the chain. Now I'm putting on quite a bit because I've not done this in a while with actual good stuff. I don't know if you actually saw that, if that caught it, but basically what I did, here, I'll do a little bit more. I put it here and just let it drip a little bit, and then I rotated the pedals backwards and make sure it's nice and on there. And then, now it's kind of drippy wet. You want to take your towel, grab yourself a clean spot, put it around your chain, and do the same thing you did with cleaning it. We're just backing it around. So now my chain is actually pretty lubed. This is a dry lube, so hopefully the dirt does not get on it. And then what I'm gonna do is actually put a couple drops in with all the other sprockets. Now I did get some more on the chain, so I'm gonna run this backwards again. All right. So the next thing you want to do, once your chain is nice and clean and it's lubed and all your sprockets in the back is all lubed up and cleaned, next thing you want to do is check your brake pads. They are right in here. Let's take a look. So your brake pads are right in here. Now these are hydraulic brakes. I can see that there are some left over, but I think I can get probably one more season out of it. And then I'll have to replace them again. But they seem to be in good shape. Now the next thing you want to do is make sure that it shifts properly. So what you're going to do with that, so we're going to pedal it, just go slow, and then go through all the gears. 1 click, 2 click. Sorry, I had to bring the camera in out in the rain. So what I did with that is that I went through all the gears and only did 1 click at a time and make sure that it only goes 1 gear at a time. I have seen people where they're like cranking all up and they're like click, 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 click. Yep, works great. Well, that's not really, testing it. What if 1 click goes two gears, or does 1 click not even go to the next gear? Only do 1 at a time and keep an eye on it and make sure that it goes all the way up and all the way down. Now, one thing else on this guy here is make sure you're not losing any teeth. So go through your sprocket and look at it very carefully. All right, and look for any broken teeth. This actually looks pretty good. So now let's work on the front one. Now, one thing that I don't like is when it goes click, 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 click every time you roll, go down the gears. And make sure that your front gear here is not, the chain is not touching the side. So we can check that. All right, so the last thing we really want to do is actually make sure that the wheels are true. And I'm going to show you here a really quick trick on how to do that without actually buying the spinny thing. Just do it on your bike and use your fingers. Just be careful with your fingers and don't get them chopped off like I did. All right, so we want to make sure that this rear tire is true. So what we're going to do is just spin it, and then you look down here on the side and you pick a spot on the frame. And if it doesn't go back and forth on that, then you're good to go. It does have a slight little bend. It's not that bad. Another thing you can do is actually put your finger next to the rim and feel it. See, like right there, probably needs to go that way a little bit. So I'm gonna go grab my wrench and I'll be right back. All right, this right here is actually a spoke wrench. You can pick this up at pretty much any bike shop. And what we're gonna do here, let me find that spot again. All right, so right in here, there's a small bend, so it needs to go that way. So one thing you can do is tighten up the outer side spokes, but one thing you do have to realize is that this is a push and pull. So I will pull this one, but then these are actually going to start, not push and pull, but I mean it's going to be a pull, but if I pull this one over, this is going to get real tight. And if you get these too tight, then they start breaking. So what I'm going to do is take my little wrench and actually tighten up this side. All right, that looks good. All right, that looks a lot better. So we pretty much do the same thing to the front and just roll it around, find the high spots, tighten it up either way to actually true up your wheel. So now we're just going to test the air pressure in the front fork. All right, now we're back into the front of the bike and we're gonna test the air pressure that is in our shock. This little pump here is something I just picked up from Amazon. They're relatively cheap, but you stick it up to the Schrader valve. This isn't a regular Schrader valve. You can't just stick your your air hose to it or whatever. Get yourself the real deal. So right now I'm at about 120 psi. Now for my weight, that's what they recommend for this shock for my weight. Anyway, you can look it up online and find out how much air pressure you need in there for your weight and kind of go from there. Now I'm roughly about 210-ish, somewhere around there. Maybe 215. I've been eating a lot and it is quarantine time. But anyway, so 120 psi for 210 pounds is pretty much ideal. It does ride really well. Over here on this side, I do have I can lock out the compression, or I can make it easier, whichever. Now this little band right here is just an indicator. You can do the same thing with a tie wrap, but you push that all the way down. You take it on the trail. Now if you get finished with your trail ride and this thing is way up here, that means you bottomed out, which either A, you don't have enough air pressure in there, or B, you need to tighten up your compression. So it depends on how you ride and what kind of comfort you want. You never want to have this all the way up to the top. I had it all the way up there because I was cycling it through and make sure it was okay. But every time I try to ride, I put it all the way down. Now if I'm all the way up here, a grid over here that's written on the shaft, and if I get all the way up here, I'm good. If I'm up here, not so good. So then I will go up here and actually tighten down the compression. So anyway, so the wheel is okay. It's not great. All right, so I hope you learned a little bit of something on this one. I am not a professional, but some simple things you can do yourself can really go really far in keeping your bike up and running. This thing's been down for almost a week now and it's been driving me crazy. And all I really needed to do was actually maintain those bearings. I didn't maintain them, so then it was down for a week, in which then I was kind of bummed out. So some simple tools, maintain it, and you're good to go. Those bearings, apparently they don't, even though this thing's only 2.5, 3 years old, it's really hard to find those bearings. There's not a cross references, there's not anything else. So what the gentleman over at Apex Bicycle Chain, if you look right there, fantastic guys over there. So far, that was my first time actually going over there. He did everything he can to actually set me up. He did sell me these bearings. He didn't think it was going to work. He said just bring them back if they didn't. They worked fantastic. It was awesome. So anyway, shout out to them. Awesome job, guys. So anyway, don't forget to subscribe and like, and maybe we'll get this on the trail. Later.